quite disturbing when that becomes the norm. We should never get to a situation where that just becomes an everyday normal thing to hear gunfire. No.
Right now at 6, that was Youngstown Police Chief Carl Davis talking about the continued gun violence in the city. His comments coming hours after a shooting that investigators say happened over a 20-year grudge. Well, the gunfire ended with a chase and crash, and then moments of chaos caught on police body camera video. First News Weekend anchor Megan Lee is live tonight from the Youngstown Police Department.
Dave, when police officers come outside of these doors at the Youngstown Police Department, they're not sure what they're going to run into. I mean, earlier this week, we got the body camera footage of an officer being shot at. And like you mentioned, last night's incidents started with a shooting into a chase and then into a deadly crash. And what we saw on that body camera footage was quite disturbing, almost too disturbing for TV. Now, I did cut some parts to give you a glimpse to what these officers see. Two members of the police department's neighborhood response unit who were on Indianola Avenue heard gunshots around 6 o'clock Tuesday night. Body cam footage shows us they turned at the corner of South Ave and Dewey. At that point, they saw an SUV turn out of the gas station.
This was a situation of an individual who had a long-time grudge and resolved that issue with violence and gunfire.
Police Chief Carl Davis tells me they need to change the mindsets of the younger generation when it comes to solving issues.
They seem to want to resolve their conflicts by pulling a gun and shooting at each other. This incident that happened last night stems from something that goes back to 6th grade.
Police were led on a high-speed chase down East Dewey Avenue towards Gibson Street. At Gibson Street and Benwood Avenue, the SUV collided with a cement barrier on the bridge over Interstate 680.
The individual who is now deceased from fleeing the scene was the only shooter in that instance. He instigated all of the events.
The body camera footage shows police asking for backup, then drawing their guns as they got out of the car. What they found was too disturbing to show. You'll hear the passenger of the crashed SUV crying for help as officers tried to use a tourniquet to stop her from bleeding where she had lost part of her arm.
Please save my life. I got a 2-year-old in the house.
The passenger of the vehicle was taken to St. E's with serious injuries. She is expected to live. The driver did die at the scene. Captain Jason Simon tells me that officers can be affected by incidents like this one.
Sometimes what is forgotten is the trauma that our officers face day in and day out, where they see these incidents time after time, and it's sad that they have to see these kinds of incidents.
Captain Simon tells me that the department has various resources for victims and the officers. I reached out to the coroner, and they have not yet identified the person that was driving the car that passed away. And I also reached out to a councilwoman, and she tells me that the city is doing all they can to stop the violence. I also reached out to Mayor Tito Brown, and I texted him and called him, and I have not heard back from him. I also saw him walking down the street with his lunch towards his office today, and he told me probably not today on a comment. Live in Youngstown, Megan Lee, WKBN 27 First News.